Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. Show number 37, and today is 12/9/13, and the show is going to be called Obama Scare. And you're going to say, Rich, Obama Scare? Absolutely. And why? Because Fox and all of their friends are going out of their way to scare everybody from getting involved with Obamacare, with the Affordable Care Act. That's what I like to call it, the Affordable Care Act, because Obama cares. And I tell you, we're going to have some success stories tonight that are just going to blow you away. You're going to say, I can't believe it. How is it so affordable? Well, we're going to try to explain all that to you tonight because it's complicated. And guys, I've been working hard on it, and I still don't quite understand it. So I'm going to try not to mislead you. I'm not going to get on my horse like Fox does. And I tell you, some of the stuff this morning, I'm listening, they have Donald Trump on. And you know what this buffoon said? I said, swear. He said, people are being thrown out of their doctor's offices. Donald Trump said it this morning on Fox and Friends. You know, these people, they don't care. They have no shame, no dignity. The only thing they care about is their pocketbook and the 1%. And all they care about is trying to mislead and confuse everybody with doubt. And I want to tell you, guys know how I feel about this. I mean, and I like to use the B word, you know, but some people don't like that word around here. So we're not going to use it, but I want to start the show by giving you a perfect example of what I go through when I watch Fox News anytime. So John, let's play the first clip, and you'll get an idea of what I have to put up with so that you don't have to watch Fox News. John, hit it.
And welcome back to Hannity's America. Author and journalist Christopher Hitchens is no stranger to controversy. In this week's Hot Seat, I go head-to-head with him over his brand new book, God is Not Great. Be an atheist. You have to believe that it is possible, which I think is a far greater leap of faith. That's something that can be created out of nothing. When you look at the majesty and sophistication and the intricacy of the universe that we do know and comprehend, you have to believe that somehow that this energy could have existed on its own, and I do not believe that to me is a leap of faith.
You give me the awful impression, I hate to have to say it, of someone who hasn't read any of the arguments against your position ever.
I've read all the arguments.
I don't see how you can be saying this. Look, you want patterns.
You seem to be angry with religion, angry with God. Am I wrong in my perception?
Not with God, obviously. That would be absurd. We had enough of people who think, like you, that they know what God wants and that they've got God on their side.
You're not comparing
that they can tell us to do it. That they can tell us. Well, they can tell us what to do or what to think in this way.
I don't care.
Yes, I am very.
There is hostility here, but I will tell you this: you are right, and I agree with actually many of the observations you made about how religion has been perverted and how it is being used for destruction and how it has been unproductive.
It is innately irrational.
Well, I disagree with that. That's a certain intellectual snobbiness, perhaps, on your part. Ow!
Most of the great philanthropists of the United States have been atheists. It doesn't prove that atheism is correct.
There is a God. Ow!
Guys, that's what it's like when I watch Fox News. I mean, I have to sit there, and the other day, I'm watching MSNBC, and Liz Winstead, the creator of the Daily Show was on. And obviously she's a stand-up comedian, very talented woman. So at one point, she says, well, you know, when you watch Fox, this is how you always end up. And she goes, and guys, you could see how much I watch Fox. I mean, I all the time. You gotta be kidding me. So anyway, to protect myself and, you know, to keep myself from further harm, I've come up with a nice little cushion so that this way when I'm watching Fox News and something really stupid comes on, I can take my Fox protector out, no pain, no pain. I can lose the bandages. What I do for you guys, huh? All right, now guys, tonight's show. I just had to get that in because I tell you, when I saw Liz Winstead do it, it was terrific. But, excuse me, tonight we're gonna focus on how much deception and how much doubt there is about Obamacare. And we're gonna start off with Alan Grayson, or Grayson, I think that's the proper way to pronounce his name. And he's gonna show you the Republicans' idea of health care. And then we're gonna look at Access Health Connecticut. And we're gonna show you some success stories from people. I'm a success story. John, our director, is an Obamacare success story. We met a guy by the name of James who was here at Channel 23. He's a success story. The sign-ups are going great, so we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about the subsidies, because a lot of people are confused. I'm confused. So we're going to show you a graph with some charts and how the subsidies work. And then we're going to skip over to David Pakman, and he's going to show you how our favorites, how the Koch brothers, the guys that are trying to buy the country, what they're doing to deceive people. And we're going to show you a clip right after that that shows the clip that Fox News was using is all full of BS. We're going to give it the old bada bing like we normally do. And then we're going to show Lawrence O'Donnell and the Uncle Sam proctologist. Oh, these guys don't quit, I tell you. And then we're going to come back with Alan Grayson. And finally, we're going to show you one of my favorite FOXTITUTES, Megyn Kelly. We're going to show you how she makes a fool out of herself on national TV, how she gets everything wrong, and you know what? She doesn't care. Nobody at Fox cares. The only thing they care about is the Republican agenda. Plain and simple. So we're going to show you the first clip now. My buddy, Alan Grayson, in the halls of Congress, and you're going to hear what he has to say. John, hit it.
Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You may recall that a few weeks ago, President Obama came to this chamber and he addressed the chamber on health care before a joint session of the House and the Senate. During that session, I was privileged to be here, and I saw my colleagues on the far side of the aisle, the Republicans, waving pieces of paper during his speech. And I was wondering what they were. I couldn't imagine. It almost seemed like they wanted President Obama's autograph. I just didn't get it. I heard from one of my colleagues that this is what they called the Republican health care plan. I went over after the speech was over. I picked up a copy that was lying down on the Republican side, and it turns out that the Republicans' health care plan was a blank piece of paper. I inquired further, trying to find out exactly what the Republicans' health care plan is, and it's my duty and pride tonight to be able to announce exactly what the Republicans plan to do for health care in America. It's this. Very simply, it's a very simple plan. Here it is, the Republicans' health care plan for America, don't get sick. That's right, don't get sick. If you have insurance, don't get sick. If you don't have insurance, don't get sick. If you're sick, don't get sick. Just don't get sick. That's what the Republicans have in mind for you, America. That's the Republicans' health care plan. But I think that the Republicans understand that that plan isn't always going to work. It's not a foolproof plan. So the Republicans have a backup plan in case you do get sick. If you get sick in America, this is what the Republicans want you to do. If you get sick, America, the Republican health care plan is this. Die quickly. That's right. The Republicans want you to die quickly if you get sick. Now, the Democrats have a different plan. The Democrats say that if you have health insurance, we're going to make it better. If you don't have health insurance, we're going to provide it to you. If you can't afford health insurance, then we'll help you to afford health insurance. So America gets to decide. Do you want the Democratic plan or do you want the Republican plan? Remember, the Republican plan, don't get sick. And if you do get sick, die quickly. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
And if you get sick, die quickly. That's the Republican plan. And he's not kidding. He's not kidding. These people have no compassion for anybody but the 1%. And this is why I'm so vehement. This is why we're here. And this is why we surround ourselves with questions. Oh, and by the way, hey, Uncle Joe. Guys, I put Uncle Joe's website up on Uncle Joe's Facebook page, Things to Ponder, up on Who's Telling the Truth's website. And that lasted about 3 days. Then I got timed out for 12 hours, and they let me back on, and then they sent me to hell. Yeah, I was expelled. Unbelievable. I can no longer participate in any of their activities.
Phone call.
Phone call. All right. Bear with us.
Speaker.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, Jesus is the Lord. How you doing? Listen, first of all, I'm not a Democrat and I'm an independent. But for you to say that people have no compassion who are against Obamacare is an absolute lie. The truth is that Obamacare or Affordable Health Care Act is a communist doctrine which is stealing
Whoa. No. You're not going to come here and get away with this crapola.
Doctors.
What?
People are losing their doctors.
Who's losing their doctors?
It's in today's Wall Street Journal.
Well, nobody's losing their
40%.
doctors.
It is in the Constitution.
What's in the Constitution?
It has no right to tell me where I have to get my health care, if I have to get it.
Hey, sweetheart.
Everything that you are saying is an absolute lie.
Hey, this...
Understand what I'm saying?
No. You're wrong. Because the Supreme Court, this is the law of the land. So learn to accept it.
The Constitution is the law of the land, my friend.
It's the law of the land.
The Constitution is the law of the land. If the Supreme Court says something, doesn't mean that it's right, does it?
It's a law. Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act is a law.
If the Supreme Court says something is allowed, it doesn't mean that it's right or that you have to do it, does it?
You got to stop watching
I'll
Fox.
tell you
But
what,
thanks for the call.
You're a liar.
Thanks for the
Goodbye.
call. I'm a liar. Boy, unbelievable. You know what? The same guy, this is what I should have said. Just like when I'm on Uncle Joe's site, and that's why I got kicked off. Because the one guy on the site said, my rates have doubled. My insurance premiums have doubled. I said, please post the figures so that we can look at them. They won't. That's why whenever you want to give these people a business, ask them to be specific, because they don't know what the word means. When you ask them what their sources are, they don't know how to go about it. The only thing they know is what they're being told by the FOXTITUTES. And guys, Obamacare is the law of the land. It's that simple. Don't let this bonehead try to give you the double reverse. Now, I got a little off key, but with Joe and his patriotic buddies, you know, they're such a bunch of haters, liars, and deniers. And the thing is, if I was saying the wrong thing, and if I got my facts and figures wrong on your website, you should blow up the print. You should make it bigger so everyone could say, hey, look, this guy got it all wrong. But no, you don't do that. What do? You kick me off. Why? Because you can't deal with the truth. That's why. You can't handle it. And when you find out, like with global warming, with just about anything, you know, you just, all you do, you're a bunch of ditto heads. Just like Rush used to say all the time, you just repeat, 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 repeat. There's no independent thought, and that's one of the problems. You guys aren't critical thinkers. That's why I love to throw facts and figures at you. Give you the old bada bing. So anyway, now we're going to show you a clip from Access Healthcare. And we're going to show you some of the benefits that have been derived by some of the people in your local communities. So John, hit it.
Everybody wants health insurance, just not a lot of people can afford it.
It's been devastating as a mother to not have insurance.
It's just too expensive.
Something's got to go, and unfortunately, that's where I made the cut.
At Connecticut's official health insurance marketplace, Access Health Connecticut, just about everyone can get the health care coverage they need.
Wow. That is a whole lot cheaper. That is half of what I'm paying now.
I could do it. That's awesome.
We're the only place in Connecticut you can get financial help to reduce the cost of health care coverage if you qualify.
I didn't quite expect to save that much money.
It is affordable, it's doable, I wouldn't lose sleep over it.
You can't be denied due to a pre-existing condition.
It's just hard to describe how happy I am.
Get quality coverage, including name brand plans at Access Health Connecticut. Learn more, enroll, or find an enrollment center or enrollment fair near you. Free in-person help is available. Call 855-475-2428 or visit accesshealthct.com.
You know why that guy was so upset? Because he realizes that with the Affordable Care Act, when people finally start to understand that it works and it's a benefit to them, the Republican Party is going to lose the House. The Republican Party is going to lose everything. That's why I'm here. I want to give them the business. And I tell you, the reason why is because they're a bunch of haters. They don't care about their fellow man. They don't care about a living wage. The only thing they care about is putting money in the coffers of the 1%. That's it. They don't want you to take care of your fellow human beings. And they call themselves Christians. They're not Christians, they're hypocristians. Unbelievable. All right, now, you know, I said I want to talk about the success stories, and I'm one of them. You know, we had insurance under my wife, and my wife left her position in New York. She moved back to Connecticut after my sister passed away. And we were given the option of taking out a COBRA policy, coexisting benefits, you know, the same policy we had, but now we're going to have to pay for it out of our own pocket. Guys, they wanted $2,300 for Anthem Blue Cross. We signed up with Obamacare, and it's under $500 a month. When I used to have the same, and we had the same doctor, the same insurance company, the same everything. $2,300 or under $500? You tell me. John, our director, he got set up. He went to one of the girls, and she helped him out. Guys, he was paying $30 a month where he works. He no longer has to pay that $30. He's going to be on a form of kind of like Husky. He's going to get a couple of WellCare visits, a couple of, whatever's included. We'll get to more of that later. But he's going to save $120 a month. Now, we've always talked about, you've always heard from Bush and from all the other boneheads, trickle-down economics. Oh, we're going to give more money to the rich so they can spend it down. Bull! You give it to them, they keep it. What we're going to do is, with John, you've got trickle-up economics. If he saves $120 a month, John needs a new car. He just spent a lot of money on a battery and an alternator, but he needs a new car. Guess what? Starting in January, he's going to have another $120 a month. So he could take that money and he could put it towards a new car. And when he buys the new car, guess what? The guy on the assembly line is going to say, "Thanks, John. Thanks for taking care of me and my family. Thanks for helping me feed my kids." And the guy that sells him the car is going to make a commission. And after he gets his commission check, hopefully he'll hit a bonus, and then he'll take his wife and his family out to a local restaurant. And when he tips the waitress or the waiter, they're going to take that money and they're going to spend it in the community. So we'll have trickle-up economics instead of somebody peeing on us all the time. All right. Now, guys, sometimes you're going to say, "Rich, it sounds too good to be true. How does this work? How come it's so affordable? Where did they get the money? How did they do it?" Well, we're going to show you a clip, and then I'm going to try to explain further. So, John, let's see about subsidies.
The Affordable Care Act provides federal health insurance subsidies for eligible people that will reduce the monthly premium that they pay for their health insurance, thus making health insurance more affordable. Now, who's eligible for a subsidy? Roughly speaking, individuals earning between $15,000 and $46,000 a year, couples earning between $20,000 and $62,000 a year, and families of 4 earning roughly $31,000 to $94,000 a year could be eligible for a subsidy. Now, the amount of the subsidy is on a sliding scale, so the subsidy gets smaller as your household income increases. Subsidies are not available to people eligible for Medicaid, who typically are going to get basically free health insurance, or people on Medicare, or those who have affordable coverage through an employer. Now, in order to be eligible for a federal subsidy, you have to live in the U.S., be a legal resident of the U.S., can't currently be incarcerated, and you have to have an income level between 100 and 400% of the federal poverty level. The federal subsidy eligibility is determined by a modified adjusted gross income. What's that? Well, in order to calculate the modified adjusted gross income, you have to do a little math. Generally speaking, adding in all the typical income for things like wages, interest, dividends, rental income, etc. Then adding in any foreign income, employer-paid adoption expenses, interest from employee savings bonds, and then finally you would subtract things like moving expenses, alimony paid, self-employment and taxes in order to determine the modified gross income, or simply ask your accountant. Now, we're not giving any tax advice here, so please do seek the guidance of a tax professional. Subsidies are relative to the income and how many people are in your household. If you look at this chart on the left, you'll see the number of the people and the household size. Then on the right, you'll see the different amounts of income that people could earn to earn between 100 and 400% of the federal poverty guidelines. How do subsidies work? Well, first off, the federal subsidies are only available through the health insurance exchange websites. Customers who come to the exchange websites will provide their income estimates for the prior year, and then they'll learn how much financial assistance they might be eligible for. When choosing a health plan, they can use the tax credit up front to reduce the plan's monthly premium. They can also elect to take none of the tax credit and deduct it from their taxes later. The amount of the tax credit is the same regardless of what plan they choose, and people who are age 55 to 64 receive larger tax credits to help offset their higher premiums.
Okay, now guys, you saw that was from Colorado, but I mean the Colorado access, but the premise is the same. Now, some of this might be really confusing, and if you're confused, don't be, because there's an easy way out. You can call. John, can you put up the graphic? There you go. Guys, all you have to do is pick up the phone. Where's the phone? Oh, the phone number is at the top. It's hard to see. But anyway, okay, guys, just go on the web and then you could, but what you want to do is you can talk to one of the girls and they'll walk you through everything. They'll take good care of you. Anna Maloney, she signed up, one of the guys on one of the job sites I was on. The guy goes, yeah, he goes, can you help me out? And I called Anna and she hooked him up. So, and then there's Linda Yanoni. She's been doing terrific. And I tell you, she sent in, there's a letter, and she's saying how well the exchanges are working. And it's a little complicated, but I tell you what, I'll put the letter up on the website, on my website, Who's Telling the Truth. You can read it yourself, and you could see how the enrollment is going. But getting back to the subsidies, a lot of people are going to say, Rich, where do the subsidies come from? And I was able to at least research this part, and I got the information from NPR, okay? And it was from MIT economist Jonathan Gruber. So guys, he helped develop the Affordable Care Act. He helped develop the law. So anyway, where does the subsidies come from? Half of the costs are offset by projected savings in Medicare payments to insurers and hospitals. Another 1/4 is offset by adding taxes on medical device makers and drug companies. The other source of revenue is a tax on the wealthiest Americans, those families with incomes above $250,000 a year will have to pay more in Medicare payroll taxes. Geez, isn't that too bad? You're making $250,000 a year and you have to pay more? My heart bleeds for you. It really does, Can't you use it as a tax shelter? Why don't you pay for it from the Cayman Islands? Oh, I'm getting like Fox now. That shouldn't be right. All right, but anyway, guys, you're starting to understand, where the money comes from, how it works. And this is something that's for all the Americans. And what's happening is, like I said earlier, the Republicans are scared to death of this because they know if everybody says, hey, this is really good, these guys are looking out for me. They're taking care of me. They care about the common good. I like what they do. Not instead of, well, we gotta pretend, we gotta make sure that the people at Walmart keep making more money than 60% of the rest of the country. I mean, after all, they do all get lost. And the Koch brothers, and I tell you, we're gonna have a lot of fun with those boneheads. But the next clip, we're gonna show David Pakman, who we've shown before, and we're gonna show you how he shows how the Koch brothers influenced this whole thing. So John, hit it.
You need to be aware that there is going to be a significant television ad campaign funded by the Koch brothers group Americans for Prosperity to turn Americans against what we know as Obamacare, also known as the Affordable Care Act. And to many people, this was it, right? There was all sorts of opposition. There were hundreds of millions of dollars initially put into fighting the passage of Obamacare. It passed. It was appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has upheld it. For a lot of people, that was it. However, not for the Koch brothers. Let's take a look at one ad that presents a number of false ideas, false premises about Obamacare.
2 years ago, my son Caleb began having seizures. The medical care he received meant the world to me. Now, I'm paying more attention, and I have some questions about Obamacare. If we can't pick our own doctor, How do I know my family's going to get the care they need? And what am I getting in exchange for higher premiums and a smaller paycheck? Can I really trust the folks in Washington with my family's health care? I think we all deserve some answers.
All right, so as we know, nothing in the actual law prevents people from choosing their own doctors in the same way that if you have employer-based for-profit insurance now, you have a list of doctors that are part of your plan, and then you have other doctors that are outside of your network, and depending on your insurance, you might be partially covered for out-of-network providers, or you might not at all be covered. It will be the same thing. So the idea that specifically because of Obamacare you can't choose your own doctor, absolutely false. But I want to draw your attention to something else, which is critics of the law spent about $400 million on television ads criticizing and opposing Obamacare during the initial period where the law was going through Congress. That is more than 5 times what supporters of the law spent, about $75 million. Let's combine that. That's $475 million. And then we are now expecting to see way more from the Koch brothers, like I mentioned, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars more. Think about that. Let's call it $700 million. Consider that in comparison to those $223 million that make up the PBS subsidy, that one that Mitt Romney during the debate back for the 2012 presidential campaign said, hey, we've got to cut Big Bird. I love Big Bird, but we've got to cut it. That is not only an insignificant amount of money compared to what the government spends on other things, but countless times more has been spent on ads protesting a law that has been upheld by the Supreme Court as perfectly constitutional. This is not about killing Obamacare at this point. This is about positioning Republicans to try to take over seats in 2014 and 2016, I believe.
Yeah, most likely. There's a lot of interesting things going on with this now. You have to assume that influence from the Koch brothers and other people, other big corporations had a role to play, of course, in this extension of Obamacare when it comes to employers being forced to pay for their employees' health care. And who knows, maybe a lot of this effort is also to try and quash that before it happens in a year or so. But definitely, I mean, everything can be tied to getting more of the people you want in office on both sides.
Guys, did you see in the commercial, did you see what they wanted to accomplish? They wanted to accomplish doubt and confusion. That's one thing we don't let them get away with here. No. You got to post your sources. You got to show us where you're getting your information from. Now, we're going to show you a doctor, an actual doctor, and I Googled him just to make sure he wasn't a guy wearing a stethoscope with a name tag. He's a legitimate doctor, and we're going to show him, and he's going to rebut the exact commercial you just saw. And you're going to say, Rich, you caught him again. Oh, I love catching him. I tell you, the old bing. All right, so John, let's show the next clip. We want to show the conclusive evidence that we caught Fox with their hand in the cookie jar again. Hit it.
2 years ago, my son Caleb began having seizures. And I have some questions about Obamacare.
Hi, Julie. My name is Dr. Sanjeev Sriram. I've been a physician for 9 years, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions.
If we can't pick our own doctor, how do I know my family's going to get the care they need?
Good news, Julie. You can still pick your own doctor. Nothing in Obamacare says otherwise. If your employer already has you covered, you probably won't notice any change at all, and that includes your choice of doctor.
And what am I getting in exchange for higher premiums and a smaller paycheck?
Great question. First, thanks to Obamacare, insurance companies will have to provide coverage of pre-existing conditions, and they can't drop you or even put a cap on your coverage if you suddenly get seriously sick. So coverage is better, more comprehensive. And thanks to Obamacare, states are getting resources they need to hold insurance companies accountable when they try to get away with hiking premiums. Now insurance companies have to give consumers refunds if they don't spend enough of your premium dollar on health care.
Can I really trust the folks in Washington with my family's health care?
As a doctor, I think the real question is, can you trust the insurance companies with your family's health care without the Affordable Care Act? I know that before Obamacare, insurance companies were charging women twice as much as men for their coverage. They were revoking coverage to cancer patients after they got the diagnosis. They were denying care to kids born with epilepsy or heart murmurs. In my practice, I see Obamacare giving us a lot more reason to trust that insurance coverage will be more secure.
I think we all deserve some answers.
Yes, we do, Julie. And a great place to seek all your answers is healthcare.gov. No family should be bankrupted over medical bills. And come October, millions of Americans will finally get access to the quality, affordable healthcare they deserve.
Didn't we just prove that they were haters, liars, and deniers? Oh, that feels pretty good. I'm starting to like that, you know? Well, you know, with the NFL, they have a lot of problems with concussions. So I don't want to sit there and bada bing myself watching Fox News, and then all of a sudden my kids are going to go, Dad, what's the matter? They say that anyway. It doesn't matter. All right, but now, somebody came up with a new term called Generation Opportunity, Gen Op. And we're just going to keep pouring it on the Koch brothers, because I tell you, these guys are evil. They are so evil. So we're going to show Lawrence O'Donnell another clip, and we're just going to keep pouring it on. John, hit it.
A battle has broken out over the enrollment of young people in health care plans offered by President Obama's Affordable Care Act. In President Obama's corner, Katy Perry, who tweeted to her 43 million followers, if you're one of millions of young Americans without health insurance, you can get affordable coverage starting October 1st. And on the other side is this ad from a group that calls itself Generation Opportunity, which is financed by the Koch brothers.
Oh, I see you chose to sign up for Obamacare.
Yeah, it's actually my first time here.
Well, here we are then. Change it to a gown, and the doctor will see you soon.
Can you swing on over, scoot on down, and try to make yourself comfortable? Okay, let's have a look.
Steve Kornacki, I'm not even sure I get what they're trying to suggest there. I mean, that you don't get a doctor, you get some cartoon figure under Obamacare?
I'm trying to figure it out, and I think there are a couple different interpretations, but the overall message I take from this is that conservatives and Republicans who are choosing to fight the law this way by trying to sort of, muck up the implementation are not fighting on the turf that they know how to fight on or they're good at fighting on. What I mean is this is a battle for 18 to 25-years-olds, 18 to 26-years-olds. This is a battle for young people, to get young, healthy people to sign up. And there's really very few groups of the electorate, very few demographic groups the Republicans have had less success communicating with over the last few years than younger voters. And what you're seeing here, I think, I don't know the specific message there, but basically that is the message that's worked with the core Republican audience, the older audience. It's the big government, big government run amok. That's what they're sort of suggesting, I think, the government's going to be in the examination room with you. I think that's the kind of message, if I'm interpreting it right, that traditionally plays better with older voters, the core Republican audience. And right now, to muck up this law, they have to try to apply that message to 18 to 30-year-olds who I don't think are quite as receptive to it, or probably confused by it.
Of course, the older voters who are themselves on Medicare, a fully government-run health care program, have never seen someone from the government in the doctor's office
and then, of course,
or the hospital.
And then there's that disconnect with take your government hands off my Medicare.
Right. It is so interesting that they have to come up with such a unbelievably grotesque lie that there's somehow government personnel in the building. They're not even in the process of you getting any of this health care. I thought, okay, if they're going to do one of these ads, I thought, well, maybe what they'll do is they'll have a waiting room with hundreds of people in it and say, look, with all these new Obamacare patients, you won't be able to, that's how long the lines will be. Or I don't know, but this thing is just a crazy hallucinatory lie.
Or make the cost argument, try to say that, hey, look, you're going to have to spend hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars a year that you shouldn't have to spend, and that sort of thing. What I'm kind of curious about here, too, I'd love to ask the people who made this ad, they're saying the smart choice is to opt out of Obamacare. This is the smart thing for young people to do. Who is this group going to put up the money for the young person who opts out and gets in a car accident, who gets cancer, who falls down the stairs? Who's going to put up the money then?
Speaking of the people who made this ad, the president of Generation Opportunity, the ridiculous operation that put this thing out, in responding to the criticism, has said, I take great offense to those saying our creepy Uncle Sam videos are suggesting anything other than the government playing doctor. In other words, I take offense that you aren't correctly describing the lie we are telling, the government playing doctor.
Well, and the whole point of, the best criticism, I think, the most valid criticism of the Affordable Care Act, of Obamacare, actually comes from the left. It is the criticism that it is not a single-payer healthcare system, that it was specifically designed to keep private insurers in business, to keep the sort of private healthcare delivery system we have in this country functioning. And so specifically to allow you to keep choosing your own doctor, to allow you to see private doctors, to allow you to deal with private insurance companies, a lot of things that people probably wouldn't like to deal with in a lot of ways, but it was designed to sort of co-opt the criticism of conservatives to get the law into place. And now, even after jumping through all those hoops, even after making this thing incredibly complicated to make sure that the insurance companies stayed in business, they're just going to turn around and say, oh yeah, it's socialized medicine, it's the government making all the decisions for it.
The youth customer in Obamacare is crucially important because they actually use health care less, and that is actually, in a sense, a profit center of the bill, that their premiums paid into the system will help with the care of the more expensive patients, older ages that have more complex issues to deal with. That's why they're so critical in getting the enrollment.
Right. So it's essential to the success of the law that young, healthy people who are going to probably put more money in the insurance company's pockets than they're going to take out of it, at least to start with. Over a course of a lifetime, that might be different, but at least to start with, it's crucial to get them all enrolled.
The principle of insurance of any kind is that most of us will always put in more than we get out.
The healthy pay for the sick, and then you end up sick someday.
I have happily never collected on the fire insurance on my house. I've never collected. Someone else has, but not me.
But it's there if you need it. That's right.
Steve Kornacki, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
All right, so guys, you see what they do? I mean, these guys are evil. And you know that spreader thing that they showed with the women? You know that thing that they, wait, it gets worse. It gets worse because the next clip they're going to use it on guys. John hit it.
Okay, everything seems normal. Oh, and I see you're new to Obamacare as well.
Yeah, I saw the ads and I figured why not?
Take your pants off.
Okay.
All right, hop up here, lay down, and bring your knees to your chest.
Is this necessary?
We'll try to make this quick.
Unbelievable, isn't it? And all they want to do is scare people into making sure they don't sign up. Why? Because they don't want it to be a success. Because if it's a success and if it benefits everybody, where does the vote go? They're petrified. They're trying so hard to buy the country. And we're starting to screw it up because of guys like me who have had it. My buddy Joe, I tell you, he's the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. But with the propaganda and all the crap that he gets from Fox and from all the other sources, InfoWars and all these, no wonder these people are going crazy. All right, now we're going to bring some sense back to the equation. We're going to show you Alan Grayson talking about Obamacare, and he's going to give it the old bada bing. So, John, let's hit the next
Joining me
one.
now is Congressman Alan Grayson, Democrat from Florida. Thank you for being here tonight, Congressman.
Thank you.
You know, it is pretty unseemly for the billionaire brothers spending money so that people won't have health insurance.
It's unscrupulous and sadistic. Here in Florida, more than 1 million people are not getting health insurance that the federal government would pay for entirely, 100 cents on the dollar, simply because the Tallahassee Republicans and Governor Scott won't go along with it. We pay our taxes to Washington, D.C. We'd get this coverage in return, and they are preventing that from happening. So 1 million Floridians are going to go without health coverage this year, next year, and the year after, and a certain number of them are going to die because of that.
Yeah.
The Koch brothers are responsible. The Republicans are responsible. They all will have blood on their hands.
But you know what is interesting, Congressman? 10 Republican governors have caved on the Medicaid expansion. In fact, today we're learning Governor Kasich in Ohio has won his fight to bypass the state's Republican legislature to expand Medicaid as well. The Koch brothers are still fighting this, but aren't more and more states seeing that expanding Medicaid is the way to go?
Well, you'd have to be a fool to think otherwise. We're talking here about the poorest of the working poor. That's what this expansion covers. It's people who make less than the poverty level, who have no children, so they don't qualify under current Medicaid standards in most states. And they still have to work, and they simply can't afford the coverage any other way. If you ask people, why don't you have coverage, 90% of them say, because we can't afford it. So here the federal government is stepping in and eliminating the discrimination that exists between child couples and childless couples and treating everybody the same. And these Republicans have to insinuate themselves and prevent 5 million people from getting the coverage that they deserve.
You know, Koch-sponsored organizations are also hosting, listen to this, they're going further, with hosting events for college students and on college campuses to get young people to reject the Affordable Care Act. They host pizza parties, dance parties with DJs. They'll hand out beer cozies and that read opt out. They even have a fake Obamacare draft card burning. I mean, they're going all out to try and deal with turning young people off of something that young people really need.
Well, my advice to them is to drink their beer, eat their pizza, and then sign up for the care. Because in many cases, this care costs less than $100 a month. It's less than my cable bill, and they need it. If they get in a motorcycle accident, in a car accident, as so many young people do, they're going to need that coverage, and they'll be glad that they did.
I mean, this is really billionaires versus poor people. And in fact, President Obama recently called out billionaires like the Koch brothers. Watch this.
Some of the Tea Party's biggest donors, some of the wealthiest men in America, are funding a ad campaign trying to convince young people not to buy health care at all. I mean, think about it. These are billionaires several times over. You know they've got good health care.
Now, to be fair, they're not only spending their money in this area, Congressman. They reportedly own 2 million acres of land in northern Alberta. If the Keystone Pipeline is expanded, the Koch brothers stand to make $100 billion in profits. Isn't it exactly this wealth that makes it possible for them to have such enormous influence over issues that benefit them?
Well, it's exactly why they have such enormous influence over the Tea Party and the Republican Party, because the Republican Party's creed these days is, let's take every tax break, let's take every bailout, let's take every permit, like the Keystone permit, let's take every government contract and put it up to the highest bidder, not for the public, not for the Treasury, but for their own coffers, for their own campaign contributions. And that's the way they do business, from Eric Cantor on down.
Congressman Alan Grayson, thank you. And one last note, we reached out to the Koch brothers on this story, but they declined to comment. Congressman Grayson, again, thank you for your time tonight.
He couldn't have said it any better. I'm gonna eat their pizza and drink their beer, and then I'm gonna sign up for the Affordable Care Act. Wow, I gotta stop doing it. All right, now, my favorite FOXTITUTE, Megyn Kelly. And she's gonna go head to head with one of the writers of the Affordable Care Act, and he's not gonna take any prisoners. Trust me when I tell you this. So, John, let's have some fun with Megyn Kelly.
Who was also, at one time, President Obama's chief of staff. Doctor, it's great to see you again. So now we have more information, and your reaction to the latest numbers out tonight is what?
Look, I think they're disappointing. I think it's not that confusing given the fact that the website wasn't working and the publicity campaign to make people aware of it and what to do was put on hold until the website begins to work reasonably well. So I'm not that surprised. Remember, we have 4.5 months from today to get to the end of the open enrollment period, and it's the end of the open enrollment period, which is fine. This is like watching a tea kettle and saying, is it boiling yet? Is it boiling yet? And that's not very helpful.
Well, but it's very concerning, but let me show you this number that I went over with Mark Tucson.
Can you give me a chance?
I give you a chance. Let's have a question and answer where the interview works better that way. 5 million people have already been canceled. Okay, so I'm not talking about the 7 million who you guys wanted to sign up.
That's not a reliable number.
It's at least 3 million, and the reports out tonight are that it's 5 million people who have been canceled so
Only
far.
on Fox is it 5 million.
If that is the truth, okay, fine. So let's go with 3 million. You can deny the problem all you want, sir, but the data is out there. If 5 million people tonight by our numbers, if that is the case, can we put the full screen back on the board? Then you need 156,000 people to sign up every day for the next 32 days just to break even. That's not even talking about the 7 million who you guys needed from the get-go to make Obamacare work.
No, that's not right, Megyn. You've got the numbers wrong. 7 million includes the people who were expected from the individual market to come on as well. So it's not just 7 million and the number from the individual market. That's the first point. The second point is you have to remember, in the individual market, before Obamacare, the insurance companies were canceling people all the time. That's one of the reasons we wanted the exchanges to work. And I agree with you. Without the exchanges working, this cancellation policy is worrisome. It was worrisome before Obamacare. It's worrisome today. The key thing is to get the exchanges working, to get the website working, so those people have a place to go where they'll get better insurance at a more reasonable rate
Okay, understood.
overall.
There's a lot in your answer. Let me ask you this first. Are you admitting then that it was foreseen that the individual insurance market would essentially collapse and that was a key facet of Obamacare working?
It's not a matter of foreseen. The insurance companies always cancel policies before.
It is a matter.
They did it before.
You know as well as I do that the mass cancellations we have seen tonight are hurting a lot of Americans. They're very upset, and their relationship with their doctor has been severed as a result of coverage in many
instances. Ms. Kelly, you don't seem to remember.
You keep downplaying it, sir, but it's happened.
No.
And now you say foreseeability is irrelevant. It is relevant. They want to know if you knew.
Maybe you would stop yelling at me.
Did you know or didn't you?
You don't see that before Obamacare, those kind of cancellations happened all the time. You never covered them. They were very common.
So to you, the two things are totally disconnected.
You keep interrupting. Isn't there any manners here?
Sir, it's a back and forth. I'm not just going to give you the platform for a soliloquy. Are you saying the two things are totally unrelated? Obamacare and the 5 million, pick your number, of cancellations in the individual market, totally unrelated?
No, I'm saying, look, the insurance industry was not forced to cancel anyone. They canceled people before, and they see the individual market as going away, and they're getting out of it.
I will give you that
they're
point
going
for the
to the
purposes of
exchange.
discussion. Okay, I'll go with you on that. Let's say that is the case. Did you foresee that happening?
I think when you change the market, things change, and businesses make different decisions.
Did you foresee that happening?
It is. I saw them going to the exchanges because that's a better market for everyone, including them.
Okay, but that's different. Going to the exchanges on their own because they saw it and said, I like it, it's better than what I have. That's not the same as the insurance company saying, you are canceled and now you're on your own. Did you foresee that happening?
That is absolutely, they have canceled because they don't see that as a... They don't see that as a growing market. That's their view.
You are not answering.
They think the exchange is rising.
Sir, you're not answering. You're not.
I am answering. Their business decision says the individual market is dying. We're going to go to the exchange. That's how they're playing this.
Okay. So when the president said to the people, if you like your plan, you can keep it, period, you believe he genuinely believed that in his mind? And that he did not foresee the mass cancellations we're seeing now.
Whether you could anticipate what business would do is irrelevant. The Affordable
Stop
Care
saying
Act,
that, because I'll tell you what's relevant to my viewers. I think I know my viewers, and I think they think this is relevant. So can't you just assume with me, for the purposes of our discussion, that I'm right and give us an answer?
No, I'm going to tell you. The Affordable Care Act did not require any single insurance company to cancel a plan.
Okay.
They decided to do that. They decided to do that for business reasons.
I'm giving you
They decided to do it for business reasons.
Listen. I am giving you that. Okay?
Good.
So it's all the insurance company's fault. They're bad. They did something bad.
I didn't say they're bad. I just said that they made a business decision.
All right, fine. Why didn't you foresee that? And why didn't you plan against it? And why didn't you say to the American people, you need to know what's going to happen on the individual insurance market because it's going to be very relevant to your life, your health, and your children's health?
Because we were offering them a better platform to buy insurance called the exchange. That was the rationale.
Okay. All right. Listen, okay, I appreciate the answer. I want to ask you this.
Good.
You have been saying today that you believe there should have been a CEO placed in charge of the healthcare rollout, its development.
I said it weeks ago.
Okay.
Right, I said it weeks ago.
Shouldn't that have been something that the President of the United States recognized at the onset of this law?
I think someone should have been in place in the spring, summer of 2010. I think someone should be in place today. I think it's very important to have a single manager who has managerial experience, has insurance company experience.
And should the President have recognized that?
I think it's important. I recommended it.
Okay, but I know you are loyal to the President, but you don't want to criticize him, but I don't understand why you can't just tell it to us straight. Should he have seen this? Why? I'm trying to get to, why didn't they listen to you? Why wasn't there such a person appointed?
There were differences about how they wanted to run it, and they decided to run it with people in CMS having the charge for doing it. Remember, this was not an environment which was hospitable to setting up the exchanges.
I know. There was a lot
you and your colleagues were constantly criticizing, trying to underfund it, and trying to make sure it didn't work.
A lot of that criticism proved true, unfortunately.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're going to try to do everything we can to make it fail, and then when it fails, we're going to say, oh, why did it fail?
I don't think Fox News had anything to do with the rollout of healthcare.gov. As far as I know, we didn't touch that website. But listen, I want to talk to you about this.
All right, you were constantly attacking the law, and you were trying to make it underfunded.
It was all our fault.
Okay.
Let me ask you about healthcare.gov, because this is what people really worry about.
It's now to wrap it up, right?
Right, now you're on.
Okay, guys, you know, Judy doesn't like to use the word, but she's a bitch. And I tell you, there's no excuse. I mean, you saw it with your own eyes. You see how vicious she is. And now you know why I call them FOXTITUTES. And you don't have to be a woman to be a FOXTITUTE. All the guys that work there are the same, you know? And then she says, I think I know my viewers. I know your viewers. They're all simple people that don't ask any questions. It's really simple. And that's why we surround ourselves with question marks. We'll see you next week, everybody.